Welcome to Voice of Stories. Discover tales that inspire, captivate, and bring words to life. Subscribe for unforgettable stories.
Miracles beyond measure. The view from the 80th floor of North Point Towers was breathtaking yet hollow to Nathan Gray. At 43, the billionaire tycoon had everything except peace. He stared at the sprawling city below, the glittering lights doing little to alleviate the storm brewing inside him. For years, Nathan had built his empire brick by brick, guided by his father's relentless ambition. Yet, here he was, standing alone, questioning the purpose of it all. A soft chime interrupted his thoughts. The call he had dreaded all week had arrived. "Mr. Gray, this is Dr. Hayes. I have your test results." The voice on the other end said, professional, but cautious. Nathan's breath hitched as he tightened his grip on the mahogany desk. "Go on," he commanded, though his voice faltered. "I'm afraid the results confirm our earlier findings," Dr. Hayes continued. "You are unable to have biological children. It's irreversible." The words hung in the air like a guillotine. Nathan's hand trembled slightly as he ended the call without a response. The thought of his legacy, his family name, ending with him gnawed at his core. His carefully curated life was unraveling. Determined to escape the walls closing in on him, Nathan grabbed his coat and keys, heading for the solace of the open road. The rain had begun to fall in heavy sheets by the time Nathan's sleek black car roared through the streets. He was barely paying attention, his mind clouded with bitterness and frustration. At an intersection, the glaring red light barely registered in his peripheral vision. A deafening crash followed. The world spun as metal crumpled and glass shattered. When Nathan came to, he was met with a face he didn't recognize. A woman, strong, determined, was prying open the mangled car door. Her hands were bloodied, her voice steady despite the chaos. "Stay with me," she yelled, her gaze locking onto his. "You're going to be okay." Nathan tried to speak, but the pain and shock silenced him. As the rain mingled with the blood dripping down his forehead, the woman's persistence burned into his memory. Nathan awoke days later in a stark hospital room. His head throbbed, his leg was in a cast, and his ribs ached with every breath. A nurse bustled in, her cheerful demeanor a stark contrast to his dour mood. "You're lucky to be alive," she said, adjusting his IV. "That woman saved your life." Nathan frowned. "Who is she?" "Her name's Mia Carter," the nurse replied. "She's a teacher at a community school nearby. Real hero, that one." Despite the demands of his recovery, Nathan couldn't stop thinking about Mia. He had faced countless life-or-death scenarios in the cutthroat world of business. But this was different. Someone had risked their life for his without expecting anything in return. Weeks later, against his assistant's protests, Nathan tracked Mia down. She was in her element, surrounded by students in a rundown but lively classroom. Her voice was warm, her laugh infectious. When their eyes met, she approached him cautiously. "Mr. Gray," she greeted. "What are you doing here?" "I needed to thank you," he replied earnestly, though he felt uncharacteristically out of place. "You saved my life." "It was the right thing to do," she said simply, brushing off his gratitude. But Nathan wasn't satisfied with mere words. He offered donations to her school, financial aid to her students, anything to repay her kindness. Mia refused it all, much to his frustration and admiration. Over time, the billionaire and the teacher formed an unlikely bond. They shared meals, stories, and slowly peeled back each other's layers. Mia's unwavering belief in doing good, even in the face of adversity, began to chip away at Nathan's cynicism. One evening, over dinner, Mia hesitated before dropping a bombshell. "Nathan, I'm pregnant." The air left the room as he stared at her in stunned silence. "It's not what you think," she added quickly. "The father, he's not in the picture. It's complicated. Nathan, reeling from his own inability to have children, found himself grappling with emotions he couldn't name. But what surprised him most was the instinctive desire to protect Mia and the unborn child. "Let me help," he offered, his voice softer than she'd ever heard it. Months passed and their connection deepened. Nathan transformed from a man obsessed with control into someone who cherished life's unpredictabilities. When Mia gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl, Nathan was by her side, his heart bursting with love. The boardroom became a battleground as Nathan's personal life drew public scrutiny. But he stood firm, defending his choices and embracing his newfound family. In a quiet moment holding his daughter while his son slept in Mia's arms, Nathan whispered, "I've spent my life chasing a legacy. Turns out it was never about money or power. It's about love. And this is everything." Mia looked at him, her eyes brimming with tears. "Sometimes the greatest gifts come from the most unexpected places." Nathan smiled, kissing her forehead. "And sometimes they come in pairs."